Good morning, my friends. This is Deepak. I'm in California, and I'm very happy to join you this morning again so we can continue our discussions on how to maximize our well-being physically, emotionally, spiritually, especially during the COVID crisis and also after it's over. We need to be always prepared for dealing with existential anxiety, suffering, and the fear of death, because at some point we all will experience extreme old age if we're lucky enough to live long, perhaps some infirmity, but certainly death. Certainly death. So that is the last chapter in everyone's life. And while the COVID crisis is going on, there's also a pandemic right now of stress and panic, which can lead to irrational behavior. But stress, as you know, can cause inappropriate inflammation and also compromise your immune system. So it is a risk factor for morbidity and mortality from not only chronic illness, but acute illness as well. And we are learning now that a lot of people who have morbidity and mortality at any age from COVID-19 infection do have what is called acute inflammation in the form of what is being referred to as a cytokine storm. So elsewhere in these videos, I have gone over many times the strategies to take, the pillars of well-being that we can all follow in order to maximize self-regulation, maximize our immune capacity, minimize inflammation, and also maximize homeostasis, which is the basis of healing. So today I want to continue our exploration of healing in the larger sense, in the bigger sense. Healing ultimately, as I've said so many times, is the return of the memory of wholeness, the return of the memory of who we really are. So with you on a daily basis, I've been exploring the 25 or so qualities of the unified field of consciousness, or what we call pure self or pure awareness. And today I want to continue with part 8. And remember, it's up to you to evaluate what I say is useful or not. Many people think I'm just spewing out what they call profound pseudo-scientist, pseudo-profound bullshit. Well, that's some people's interpretation. Other people think what I'm saying is just new age fluff, and that's an interpretation too. But from my side, what I'm doing is exploring Vedanta, the non-dual traditions of wisdom from all over the world, and also from Kashmir Shaivism and aspects of Buddhism. So today, what I want to share with you is part 8, which is I am, not I am Deepak Chopra, I am before I'm Deepak Chopra, because Deepak Chopra is a story in I am. Deepak Chopra is a process, a conditioned process in I am. So I am is not a person, but the awareness in which the person is an evolving process. And so today's principle I want to share with you is that I am is the source of infinite creativity. Once again, I am is the source of infinite creativity. So creativity. What is creativity? Creativity is the emergence of something or the manifestation of something that didn't exist before. Once again, creativity is the manifestation of something that did not exist before. There are several types of creativity, but today I just want to make a distinction between what I call fundamental creativity and the simulation of creativity. So fundamental creativity is original creativity, and simulation of creativity can be done through artificial intelligence systems and algorithms. But fundamental creativity is not based on an algorithm. It goes directly to the heart of existence to find its inspiration. Very good word, by the way, inspiration, in spirit. So when we are in spirit, we are also fundamentally creative because the source of all existence is creative. The source of mind is creative. The source of body is creative. The source of the universe is creative. However, we want to frame it. Now, of course, this is not mainstream physicalist science, which is still struggling to explain how atoms and molecules and force fields and physical matter can be creative or have insight or intuition or inspiration or just thought. So what I'm saying is not mainstream physicalist science. What I'm saying is based on a different ontological primitive, which is pure consciousness is the ground of all existence, and it creatively expresses itself as form and phenomena and experience of that which we call the physical body and that which we call the physical world, which are both interpretations. Physical body and physical world are interpretations of perceptual activity. So that includes everything from COVID-19 virus to stars and galaxies to this physical body to that tree behind me. They're all experienced or interpreted as physical matter, but in fact modified forms of awareness or consciousness as it modifies itself both into the perceptual activity that we call the tree or the body or the painting or anything else, but also its interpretation. So when we understand that consciousness is the ontological primitive of all existence, then we can understand the creative process. So the creative process is really the creation of a new story, a new narrative, a new context, a new meaning, a new perceptual experience of reality, a new cognitive interpretation of reality, but ultimately the emergence of something that did not exist before. New context, new story, new meaning, new relationships or interpretation of relationships, and a new story. It involves the death of an old story and the creation, the resurrection of a new story. Today is very appropriate actually because today is part of the Easter weekend, and Good Friday yesterday was crucifixion. Crucifixion is death of the old story. And tomorrow is Easter Sunday, which is resurrection, the creation of a new story. And that is ultimate creativity. Okay, ultimate creativity is death of an old story and the creation of a new story through new meanings, new contexts, new relationships, new archetypes, new vision, and new relationships or new interpretation of relationships, a new narrative, in other words. So now, having done that, let's look at the stages of creativity, because as a physician, I've always believed also, by the way, that what we call healing is biological creativity. So, when you are exposed to a pneumococcus, you have the ability to make an antibody to the pneumococcal antigen, even though you personally may not have been exposed to pneumococcus before. And that is because some ancestor figured it out. And that memory is existing right now in your immune system. And it's true of COVID-19 too. We have a lot of people will get infected, some will get uh, sick, mild sickness, some will be without symptoms, somebody will be with major symptoms, some will have acute inflammatory storms, and some might even die. And therefore, the response to the COVID-19, to anything for that matter, is complex. It's contextual, and there's no one solution to any problem. We now know that chronic illness is associated with chronic inflammation, and there are many causes for chronic inflammation, including lack of sleep, stress, lack of exercise or movement, absence of deep breathing, mind-body coordination, emotions that are inflammatory, loss of contact with nature, or just deep anxiety, fear, and unmitigated panic. We know that. And so we also know that that compromises the immune system. We also know how to mitigate against that. But today I'm going a little bit beyond that. I'm saying that biological creativity and healing go together. I'm also, by the way, saying something which will annoy classical physicalist evolutionary biologists, and that I believe that evolution of species is actually guided by consciousness, that it's not random mutations, it's unpredictable mutations, which could be, for all that we know, creative mutations and natural selection that leads to the evolution of species. That's a whole different conversation. I've been attacked for saying that, but a lot of people are using the term theistic evolution or consciousness guided evolution or cooperative evolution, or how epigenetics shapes the activity of genes even as they mutate. But as I said, that's a different conversation, and I'll get to it. But to evolve, in my opinion, is also to be creative, to consciously evolve, both in consciousness and biology, is to be consciously creative. So I'm going to share with you all that I've learned about creativity. And here are the 9 steps that I've outlined before. If we understand the creative process. So here are the 9 steps as I understand them. Intended outcome. So you have to have a vision of what you want, number 1. Number 2, information gathering. You have to gather the information around that particular outcome. So, maybe somebody has type 2 diabetes, they want to get rid of the diabetes. So this is intended outcome. They want to get rid of the type 2 diabetes. Then information gathering. They need to gather all the information. What are the causes of type 2 diabetes? What are the genetic factors? What is the factor that we call obesity or metabolic syndrome? How is that connected to habits and so on? So a lot of information has to be gathered. That's the second step in creativity, any creative process, whether it's writing a story or looking for a fundamental particle in theoretical physics. Intended outcome, information gathering. And then information analysis, because there are many ways to analyze the information. And that's step 3. And step 4 is incubation. For me, the most interesting way to incubate is through meditation, whether it's mantra practice or mindful awareness or vipassana or being aware of sensations of the body or inquiry, but quietening the mind, quietening the internal dialogue, asking questions, seeding consciousness with thought and information and analysis, but then letting it all go. Incubation allows what I call the proliferation of uncertainty, without which there are no unlikely connections for the creative process. So incubation allows the proliferation of uncertainty and allows us also to tap into the wisdom of uncertainty, which is very necessary for the creative process, which I'll talk to you about in great detail later. But right now, there's the proliferation even in the environment of uncertainty about COVID-19. So how does that allow us right this moment to take the uncertainty and the proliferation of uncertainty to harness our individual and collective creativity as well? So incubation is the fourth step. The fifth step is the sudden insight that happens. Aha, oh, that's it. Insight means inner vision. And when you have an insight that seems to be true, then the sixth step is inspiration. You feel inspired, not motivated, inspired, to be in spirit. And that is the creative process. Sixth step. Seventh step is implementation. You try out what your insight is. You implement what you're inspired by, and then you see if it works. And if it works, then you integrate it with your old story as you create the new story. So step 7 is implementation. Step 8 is integration. Step 9 is incarnation. The old story has died. The new story is born. Happy Easter. Incarnation. It's a death and a resurrection. By the way, in the Vedic understanding of reality, even physical death is ultimate creative process, because on physical death, we still have the karmic information of our lifetime, but we actually incubate in pure consciousness and in the realm of uncertainty and proliferation of uncertainty till we have the sudden insight and inspiration to incarnate again. Literally, that's how Vedanta explains physical death as ultimate creativity. So here are some of the principles from the Vedanta for the creative process. And these come and are part of the teachings of the Shiva Sutras. So principle number 1, I use memories but do not allow memories to use me. That's from the Shiva Sutras. When we allow memories to use us, we are victims. When we use memories, then we are creators. Number 2, I have the full awakening of tanmatras. Tanmatras are the subtle senses. So right now you're listening to me and you're experiencing sound. But if you close your eyes and you imagined listening to me and you heard something, just like when I close my eyes, I imagine John Lennon singing Imagine, I can hear something. That's the subtle experience of sound in the subtle body. Okay, it's called a tanmatra, the finer, subtle sense. And like the subtle experience of sound, there's subtle experience of color and sight and taste and smell and sensation. So we use all the 5 senses, but in consciousness as the subtle senses. Thinking in terms of sound, in terms of color, in terms of shape, in terms of form, in terms of taste and smell and texture and fragrance. When we start to think, even through the 5 senses, that is awakening of the tanmatras. That's principle number 2, conscious principle. Principle number 3, see the particular in the whole. So when I look at my hand, that's the particular in the wholeness of the body. When I look at the tree behind me, that's the particular in the wholeness of the cosmos. That tree is a localized expression of the entire universe. So seeing the particular in the whole and then seeing the whole in the particular. Can you look at that tree and see rainbows and sunshine and earth and water and wind and air and the infinite void and atoms and force fields and particles and galaxies all in that tree? In fact, in every leaf of that tree. That would be seeing the particular in the whole and seeing the whole in the particular. So that would be four. Number three would be principle, seeing the particular in the whole. And number four would be seeing the whole in the particular, left brain and right brain thinking. And finally, understanding that the role of karma, which is understanding the role of relationship. Every relationship that we have, good or bad, gives rise to a story. It is up to us what story we want to create. So I would say understanding karma and relationships as tools for personal growth, expansion of consciousness, and ultimately enlightenment. Om Bansal says, what is moksha? Moksha is exactly that. Freedom from all conditioning to have access to infinite creativity. So I've given you 9 steps and 5 principles, and these are derived from the understanding of consciousness as the fundamental ontological primitive. I am is infinite creativity. And when you have infinite creativity, you can let go of all old stories and give birth to a new story and a new narrative and a new context and a new meaning and a new creation. The pandemic is an opportunity for us to heal ourselves and also collectively heal the world. To have that vision, the highest vision, which is we all want a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And we have the capacity to do it, starting with ourselves, because there's no social transformation in the absence of personal transformation. They go together because society is a collection of people, and people are processes in consciousness in that which we call I am. I am is infinite creativity. So let's choose a mantra for that. And I was looking at my notes, and actually, I'm in the process of also submitting my new book. The last book, as I mentioned, is Metahuman, and I'm plugging it right now without shame because I wrote it and I'm proud of it. And my new book, which is coming out soon, will be called Total Meditation: How to Live the Awakened Life. And so here's a mantra for today. Ksham. K-S-H-A-M. Ksham. 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 This mantra enlivens the 6th chakra between the eyebrows. And the intention behind this mantra is I am the light of pure knowing. Because in the light of pure knowing is pure creativity. Ksham. 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 Silently bring the awareness here and just repeat this mantra. Ksham. Ksham. Mentally. Ksham. I am the light of pure knowing. See this light of pure knowing. We are the light of awareness, the light of pure knowing and pure creativity. All the best, my friends, today. And thank you for joining me as usual. I am is infinite creativity. Giving rise to a new story. God bless.